Well, again, good morning. My name is John Hamby. I am with Members Credit Union. I'm our community relations coordinator. I handle a lot of things community related, community events, webinars, and training aspects for our membership. And so we are glad that you are with us today um, for our first webinar of this year. And we'll have many more to come before the end of the year. But today's topic is on internet safety and how we can keep ourselves safe. This is a huge, wide topic that we can really dive into a lot of things in. And so we're going to talk about several of those today and giving you some basic information. Of course, if you want more information on any of these, I'll be more than happy to reach out to you specifically and get those to you. If you do have questions or comments, feel free to use the chat box. You can type those in and I will try to get to those as we're going through our time together this morning. So let me go ahead and share my screen. As soon as I can find the right file here. Bear with me just a second. It was up here on my screen just a second ago. There we go. Can everybody see that? Okay, good deal. All right. So again, sorry about that. Technology sometimes can get the best of us in these Zoom worlds. So internet safety is what we are talking about today. Let's dive in. Let's talk about a couple of things. The first thing we need to look at is consider what we share in our profiles. Um, there are lots and lots of different profiles that we have out on the internet today, with everyone having Instagram and Facebook, Twitter accounts. There's online dating sites. There's all kinds of ways that we can build profiles, LinkedIn profiles, all kinds of stuff that we can put ourselves out there on the internet. And some of the things that we don't want to share is our personal information. We want to limit how much of that we actually put in our profiles. It's never a good idea to put employers in our profiles, our religious views, and things. We want to think twice before we put all of that type of information out on the web. Make sure that the information that you are sharing is suitable for all eyes. We don't want things out there in your profiles that people can grab to identify or to use to identify you. This is how a lot of the scammers get the information that they use to use our to steal our identity. So that's about profiles. Let's talk about photos, because a lot of our profiles that we make, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., has a lot of photo opportunities and sharing. And we want to make sure that sharing photos obviously is a great way to connect with our friends and family, but it can also make us very vulnerable without knowing it. So be sure, as I put out here, be sure before sharing your picture, we take a few minutes to examine the background in our photos before we actually put them out there. We want to make sure that we fuzz out or crop any of the photos that show our house address, our car license plate, and other information that people could use to actually find us. And then also talking about our photos, let's see, wait a minute, I may talk about that in just a few minutes. But, you know, with our photos, watch where, and this may be in a later slide because this view is not showing you all of our slides. Watch where when you post photos specifically of like vacation. If you're on vacation, it is always a great idea to not share your photos while you're on vacation. I know it's so tempting to put out there, look, we had a great day at the beach, and look at my grandchild, it's the first time they touched the water, or, we're in the mountains and we want to show off those beautiful views. But when we put those photos on our profiles, basically what we're showing to criminals, if they happen to come across or they are watching our profile, that we are not at home. That we are out of town, our home is now vulnerable. And so we want to watch putting those photos out there on our profiles. Next, we want to watch out for phishing. Phishing is not our, rod and reel that, going out to the local pond and catching some carp or some bass. Phishing with a PH is a common trick used by identity thieves to gain our personal information. This crime involves sending emails or creating sites that appear to be legitimate and asking you to confirm personal information such as bank account information, passwords, birthdays, addresses. If you get an email from a company that you specifically are not doing business with on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis, and they're asking you to verify something, the best thing that you could do is to not click on the links in that email, because criminals have a great knowledge base and they're extremely technological savvy, and they have a great way of taking those websites like eBay, PayPal, which are the most two common ones, and they can recreate what that page looks like and send you to something that looks very similar to that, but in all reality, they're sending you to a page that is not that page for that website at all. It is a different page. They're using your information. They're gaining that. So don't click on the link in the email. Go to the actual website. And if you have questions about something, chat with that website or send them an email or pick up the phone and call their customer service number and find out, if it is legitimate. Don't just click on things in an email that's asking you for information. That's when it's called phishing, because when you go out, you're casting bait out into the lake, right? And you're wanting to, with that worm or whatever may be on the end of that hook, we're trying to reel in that fish, our catch. And it's the same thing that the criminals are trying to do with those emails. Is they're casting out the bait in those emails, and you're going, with eBay or Amazon or something like that, and it's asking you to verify your bank account information, and you just made a purchase, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get that purchase. I got to go in here and fix this. And then you've done exactly what they want you to do. You clicked on something that you shouldn't have clicked on, and you're giving out your information that they can use. So before adding any personal information, contact the supposed site directly to see if they have been trying to contact you. And most reputable sites will not contact you in such a way. They're going to send a message to your account. And I can tell you from a banking standpoint, we as a credit union we're not gonna send anything out for you to verify anything like that. We're gonna send out promotion stuff. We're gonna send out things to help you along, just like you all got the email about today's webinar. We didn't ask you for any personal information in the registration, and we're not going to, because that is, we don't want to be putting that out there for you to distrust us or to give us information or to give someone else information that may not be out there. Next is keeping an eye on accounts. If you use a credit card for online shopping, be sure to keep a close eye on your activity. Notice the purchase that you haven't made and contact your card company immediately. So keeping an eye, we as a credit union send out monthly statements for your checking account. So if you don't use a credit card, but you use your debit card for a lot of things like I do, it is very important that you go back through that statement each month, because, you want to make sure that the purchases that are out there, are the purchases that you are making. We have a great, wonderful fraud protection program here at Members Credit Union. And if something does seem out of the ordinary extremely, then we're a lot of times able to catch that. But we don't catch everything. If it's an online purchase or something that seems to be within the norm of your type of spending, then our fraud may not pick up on that. So, pay attention to your credit card statements, pay attention to your banking statement, and keep an eye on those accounts each month as you're going through. And be aware of your internet presence. Everything you do on the internet is apparent to other users, and you should be aware of what they are seeing. So in the cases of cyber stalking and identity theft, someone could use your name and information to create damaging profiles and post public messages. Take a moment. I don't know how many of you have ever done this before, and sometimes this is interesting to really kind of see what is out there, but take a moment and Google yourself and see what others are seeing about you out there. Just Google your name and see what, maybe your city or, where you're at, maybe your name in North Carolina or your name in whatever state you may be in, and see what comes up about yourself. This will help you to find anything you may be unaware of or any unauthorized use of name, pictures, and personal information. I will tell you that if you put a picture, I'm in my early 40s, and my generation and older, we tend to do a lot of things on Facebook, and the younger generation tends to be more Snapchat, Instagram, things like that. But I don't know if you're aware, but I can actually go onto someone's Facebook profile, save a picture out of their pictures, and it never notifies that user that I've saved their picture. And then I can do what I want to with that picture. It's very easy. That's why I said earlier to watch those pictures, because it's very easy for people to use your pictures and use your information that's on the internet. So be aware of what your internet presence is and how that is out there. Report identity theft. When you think of identity or internet security and safety, adults often consider identity theft as a top priority. Identity thieves can use the information that they find online to drain your bank account and ruin your credit rating. In some cases, the damage caused by internet identity theft can even harm your future employment prospects, especially if you work in an industry that regularly does credit checks for their job applicants. If you notice someone is using your name, credit cards, or other personal information, contact the Federal Trade Commission right away, and you can prosecute the person to clear your name and avoid any further issues. I had an instance about 2 years ago now that I got a bill in the mail, and it was from one of those like catalog type companies, like Finger Hut. It was very similar to that. I can't remember the exact name, but it was very similar to Finger Hut. And someone had actually stolen my identity and opened up a charge account in my name and had bought a refrigerator from that site in my name, and I got the bill for it. And of course, I called the company, told them what was happening. They looked into it, and it was extremely obvious that it was identity theft and that it was fraud, because the shipping address and where it was going to was not my address. It was not where it was going to go. They were able to, remove and cancel that and take it off of my credit. But I did have to kind of put a block on my credit report just a little bit to, to watch for that. And luckily, that was the only thing that happened with that. But it does happen, and it happens sometimes on small scales, like what happened to me, and sometimes it happens on larger scales where they really do some some major damage to your reports and to your bank account and things. So report identity theft as soon as you can get it. Contact those credit bureaus and the Federal Trade Commission that you have been compromised. So we're going to talk about how to keep your accounts secure. We all go through, we all have a ton of accounts, and we want to make sure that we are keeping those as secure as we can. And the first line of defense is a great password. We all have a million passwords. Everything nowadays is password protected. Everybody wants a password. Everybody has a different way that they want you to create that password. And if you're like me, up till a couple of years ago, I just wanted to make every password the exact same, so I didn't have to remember but one password until I realized how dangerous that was. So even though it is tempting to choose a password that's easy to remember, and that is the same across the board, we need to make sure that all of our passwords are different. And we want to make sure that we aren't using personal information like our child's name or our date of birth or even our favorite sports team, especially if we're posting, if we're posting about the Steelers or the Raiders or, on our social media platforms. That's something that criminals can use, and we'll try to use that information to find out what our passwords are. Consumer reports, 32% of adults use passwords based on simple personal information. So instead, it's better to create a password that meets these criteria that is on our screen. 8 or more characters, so it's a good long password. Make sure that we have a number in there as well as letters. Add a special character. Special characters are all those little characters that run across the number keys at the top of your keyboard. The exclamation, the at, the number symbol, the money symbol, percent sign, things like that. Adding those special characters in there. Mixing up those upper and lowercase letters, either at the beginning, at the end, throughout, and then keeping that personal information off of our passwords is a great way to get a great password. Don't reuse passwords. As I said just a minute ago, we're all, in efforts to remember our passwords, we are tempted to reuse the same passwords for multiple accounts. And we need to avoid this if all possible, because since it makes multiple accounts vulnerable if your password is discovered. Once they figure out that first password, if that's the password on 6 other things, then now all 6 of those, 7 of those things are now vulnerable. So we want to try to not to reuse passwords as much as possible. Keep your passwords in a safe spot. The safest place to store is a list on an external flash drive that you keep with you. So I suggest getting one of those little flashcards, the USB, the little flash drive, create a document, either like a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, save it to that external flash drive, and then make sure that you remove that flash drive from your computer. If something was to happen and a criminal was to be able to hack into your computer, you don't want that file stored on your computer. This way you can keep it safe, you can take it with you, and you will have it. Just make a list of the files, that login information to your different accounts, and then you've got that password as well on there. That's my suggestion. Stay vigilant at all times. Just be vigilant with what you're doing while you're online. A lapse in intention can lead you to automatically click on a link or open an email attachment that may put your computer or information at risk. Staying vigilant can help you stay safe. Unfortunately, I can remember, my grandparents, when they were alive and in their day, and even my parents' younger days, you trusted everybody. Everybody was just trustworthy. It's just the way it was. There were very few people that weren't. People did deals by shaking hands, and that was just as good as a contract. And sometimes we want to have the faith in people that we can trust them, and that we can trust things, and that we feel safe and we feel confident at all times. But in all reality, what we should be doing with anything that we do online is we should be cautious and worry, and not worry, but we should be vigilant about everything that's going on. Can I trust this email? Can I trust this attachment? Can I trust that my password is secure enough at all times? And we should not, the moment that we let our guard down online and say, oh, well, I think I'm going to trust this one, is the moment that we have gotten something installed on our computer by an email and attachment, and then in the background, without us even knowing, this program and this hacker has gotten into our computer system and is gaining who knows how much information from us. So we want to be vigilant at all times. How do we be vigilant? Well, we want to think before we open email attachments. This is one of the biggest ways that criminals today are getting access to our computers, which then gives them access to our personal information, is through an attachment. If you get an email from someone or a company that you are not expecting, you need to stop and think about it and look at everything you can in that email. Don't open attachments from people that you don't know. If you don't know them, don't open the attachment. These attachments may contain viruses and other malware. And additionally, think twice before you open an attachment from someone that you do know. It's common for email accounts to get hacked and for hackers to send messages and attachments to all of the people that are in the address book. So if it doesn't sound like something your friend might send to you, email them in a separate email. Don't reply to that one. Open a new email, send them a new email, and find out if it's legit. Or pick up the phone. We do that here. Your first line of defense of keeping your computer safe is you. And attachment is the number one way that people fail to be vigilant. They just look at an attachment, they open it, and the next thing you know, they've been compromised. So before you open an email attachment, think about what it is, who it is, and is this something that I would normally get, or is it something that I was expecting from someone? Consider the legitimacy of free programs. There is a myriad of free programs out there that you can download to your computer for just about anything. Many of those free programs are merely a device for delivering adware and spyware and malware to your computer. So before you download a free program, think about what you're needing it for. I can tell you that most of the time, I know we all want to try to do things as cost effective as we possibly can. But if there's something that you're needing done and it requires a program to be downloaded, if you're going to pay for that program from a trusted provider for that type of service, then it's almost always better to do that unless you have somebody that has given you advice of a free program that is out there to use. I always run everything by my IT guys here before I do anything on my personal computer and find out if I need something free. I don't really want to pay for it because it's not something I'm going to use all the time. Run it by somebody and say, hey, have you heard of this company? Google that company, see what the reviews are of that company, look into it and do some research before you just merely download at will a free program because they may not be a legit company. Keep your virus software up to date. It's important that you install a virus software and a firewall on your computer, but then it's also periodically go into that and make sure that it is updated. Just because we click automatically update doesn't always necessarily mean that that program is going to automatically update. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But just checking every so often, every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, just making sure that protection software and firewall is up to date and on a regular basis. And watch out for fraud. In the global nature of the internet has brought new life to scams. Some of the most popular ones right now are online auction sites posting posting the either non-existent or falsely represented merchandise. Excuse me. Case in point, summer was coming around. I had a friend of mine here at work that found a company online that was selling pools for your backyard. It did seem too good to be true. So they at least were smart and went through and paid for what they paid for through PayPal. So it wasn't directly out of their account, so it didn't kind of give up their account information. But it was like this super great deal on this pool. And this pool was, just a really nice, big size pool for the family. Came with the pump and everything, and it was just this really great deal. And so they went ahead, paid for it through PayPal, and never got the pool. The product was never shipped. The product never existed. We thought it was too good to be true. We luckily contacted PayPal. PayPal, because of their policies, was able to refund the money back to my friend, so they weren't out their money when they found out that it was fraud. But just watch for those frauds. Just knowing that a lot of times on these online auction sites, that sometimes the featured item is non-existent or is falsely represented. And depending on how you pay for it can depend on if you are out of that money or if you're not out of that money, because it depends on how you paid for it. Nigerian money offers promises large sums of cash in exchange for assistance with bank account transfers. If somebody is calling you out of the blue that you don't know, that's saying, are sending an email and saying, you've won this or you've won that, and you need to, but we need you to send us money. If you got to send money to get that prize, you did not win that. That is a scam. And you would be surprised at how many people fall for that scam. And we deal with it on a daily basis here about promising large sums of cash, and you're not going to get it. You're just going to be out of that money. Financial scams targeting consumers with poor credit who are tricked into paying upfront fees in hopes of receiving credit cards or personal loans. No legitimate financial institution, bank, credit card company, credit union, nobody is going to ask you to pay money up front in order to receive a credit card, with the exception of what's called a secured credit card. Now, if you're going to your bank, your trusted bank or your trusted credit union, and they have a product called a secured credit card, which is where you're putting X amount of dollars on deposit, and then they're giving you a credit card for that same amount. That's a secured credit card. That is legit. But other than that, to fix your credit or to give you a personal loan, if you've got to put money down to be able to get that, it is probably not a legit. It is a financial scam that they are out to get your information. Phony sweepstakes offers are asking for payment to claim prizes that don't exist. Again, any kind of scam that you're asked to pay any kind of money up front to get something in return, that is definitely an internet fraud. And if you want to learn more about how to protect yourself from online frauds particularly, you can visit the Internet National Fraud Information Center. You can Google that online. It's the Internet National Fraud Information Center, and they will be able to give you more information about current and up-to-date online frauds that are circling and going around right now. Be on the lookout for sexual predators. If you are a single woman or even a single man who likes to use online dating sites, be on the look for potential sexual predators. It is not always easy to tell if a potential date is merely lying about his appearance or is trying to conceal a criminal past. If you do decide to arrange a personal meeting with someone you meet online, always request that that first date be in a restaurant or a similar public space. And it is always a great idea to tell your friends where you are going, when you are going, to make sure that someone is able and around to check up on you later in the evening. Just be very, very careful with meeting someone off of the internet. I just read this morning that this whole I believe it was in the newspaper here in where I'm at here in North Carolina. There was a man who escaped prison in 1977, changed his identity, hid, got married, and had a whole family, and was just found and just discovered. And his family had no idea that he had this entire criminal past, that he was, an escaped convict from prison in 1977, and now he has grown. His kids are now grown, and it's just been a turmoil. And obviously, when all this happened, online dating sites weren't out there, but they are now, and how much more prevalent that this kind of thing could be, just to keep yourself safe and make sure people know where you are, what restaurant you're going to, what time you expect to be meeting this person, what time you expect to be done with the date, and check in on them periodically throughout the day, throughout the time, but especially when everything is done. If you've not heard from them, check on your friend, or have someone to check on you. All right, so we want to make sure that you are keeping your experience online enjoyable and safe. And so, that's why we put this together today. These are just a few instances of how to, remain safe while you are on the internet, keep your account safe, keep, your identity safe. Just be careful with what you are doing. So, we want everybody to be, safe, because we care about our members, and we don't want to see things happen to our membership. So I'm going to open it up. Anybody have a question? If you feel comfortable, you can unmute your mic and ask that question, or type it into the chat bar, and we'll have a few minutes here of questions. If anybody has any questions.
Can you type that website that you just gave a moment ago into the chat?
For the fraud?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will type the name. I don't have the actual website, but I'll type the name of it in there for you. The Internet National Fraud Information Center. Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Comments? Stories?
I wish the credit card companies would do more, and maybe somebody on here has some insight to police their own folks. I get my email through Charter Spectrum, and every day I must get at least 5 fraud scams from people using the Charter platform to try and scam. And the email company doesn't seem to be able to do anything or even care. I've reported it several times. I forward the messages to them, but it's sad that the company doesn't care that their own customers are trying to scam other of their own customers.
Yeah, so in most cases, Dolores, what's happening is really not their own customers. They typically are scammers, and they are using that. What they have done is, I guess in some ways they may be a type of customer, but they're using and this is much more technical than what I understand, because I'm not an IT guy. But what they're doing is they're using that email address But when that email address on the backside, what you don't see is it's not going to, in your case, a charter.com or a charter.net email address. It's actually being shipped off and re-forwarded to somewhere else. Because we actually, as members of the credit union, we have our own email, our email is whatever at memcu.com. And we get spoofed is what it is they're spoofing that email address. And so we will get something from, what looks like a legitimate email address. It's somebody that we know works here. But when you look at the contents within or the subject or something, there's always something that's just not right. It's either a lot of misspelled words, sentences don't make sense, the subject is kind of weird and out of place. And so when you reply to that, it's actually not going back to the person that it says who it is. It's being rerouted somewhere else. And so they're using technology to spoof that email and send it on. People do it with phone numbers all the time. We've all gotten that phone call that, hi, we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty, right? I mean, how many times a day do we get that phone call? And we block the phone call on our phone so that we don't get that phone call again from that number. And what happens is the very next time that they call, it's a different phone number. Same people, same scammers, they're just spoofing phone numbers over and over and over again to be able to do that. So I personally don't think that it's necessarily that they don't care. It's just we on a fraud, when you're talking about fraud, we can't combat fraud until that fraud has come into light, right? So if, we don't know what the scammers and what the criminals are working on until it shows up. So everything on fraud prevention is retroactive, not or reactive. We're all reacting and not trying. We would love to be proactive and get things done, ahead of time. But the only thing that we can do is we can react to it and stop it once we see it. So I hope that kind of maybe gives a little more clarity to what you were talking about. Let's see. Question: is it safe to transfer funds between accounts such as checking to savings within members' online service? Absolutely. Our platform, our online platform, our mobile banking, and I will even go to say this and give a shout out to other financial institutions as well. If it is their product, okay, our online banking, our mobile banking, that's our product. We have it. It's a product for you, our members to use. If you are using your unique ID and your password to log in, it is 100% safe. Within online banking and online banking and mobile banking, there's also an option that you have in there called messaging. That is a secured message. You type in the message, it comes to us securely. It does not come into our email. It comes into us on the back side of our program. And then we're able to communicate with you through your online, whether it's online or mobile, through that online process. And we can actually exchange confidential information, account numbers, addresses, personal information, because it is in a closed system that is only communicated between us and you, the user. Now, again, going back to what we said earlier about password protection, making sure that your password for your online banking and your mobile banking device is, a good password, 8 characters using different character types, upper and lowercase numbers. Making sure it's a strong password will help you to keep that protected, that, just like anything else, is password protected. If you're, sloppy with the passwords, they can be, they can be found out if somebody's trying to do that. But no, it is safe to transfer funds between accounts, and even linked accounts that you may have with Members Credit Union to an outside, to send money from Members Credit Union to an outside financial institution. Doing that through our platform is safe as well. So great question there. Any other questions or comments?
John, I have a question, and I'm not sure if well, is there any way, if let's say you use the debit card for an online order over the internet, is there any kind of technology that you're aware of that might be implemented in the future where there would be maybe a two-factor authentication similar to signing into Members Credit Union, but this would be on the other end if you were to order goods on the internet where they'd have to verify that it's actually you, and it would come to your phone, just like the two-factor authentication, so that would cut down on the fraud, somebody getting a hold of your credit card number and then using it to order goods for themselves.
That's really kind of a question for merchants. It wouldn't be something that would be on our end as far as the banking side of it, because we're not controlling that aspect of it. Let's just use Amazon, for example. So if I'm understanding correctly, basically what you're saying is you go onto Amazon, you order some things, you put in your card number, and before it actually goes through, they send you a text message. You say, yes, this is me, I'm doing this purchase, and then then it goes through. So you kind of got that secondary authorization, right? Is that kind of what
Right.
you're talking about?
Yeah, correct.
I think that there is some type of programs and merchants that do that. I think for the most part, a lot of times they are higher end limits. So if I'm buying something for $25, they're not going to do it because it's in some ways, it's just not efficient for them to do that on that. If I'm spending $5,000 on Amazon, for instance, then that may be something that they are doing. And some merchants are already doing that, and some choose not to do that. It just kind of all depends. And the great thing to keep in mind too is that if you are using your debit card, even if it's a debit card and you're using it, whether it's debit card or credit card, and you are running it as a credit transaction, right? Which means that you are not typing in your personal identification number, your 4-digit PIN. If you're just using it as a straight transaction and it is not you that have done that, you can file a fraud claim on that and get your money back, right? It's a lot more difficult if it's that 4-digit PIN, because that's supposed to be, your personal identification number. Nobody else is supposed to know it. You're not supposed to have it written down anywhere. That's supposed to be a super private 4-digit number. And if it's a transaction that's done that, it's really, really difficult to dispute that it wasn't you that did it. That it,
Right.
We all know that fraud does happen, and especially if a $2,500 transaction to Amazon comes through, and is looking at your history either on your credit card or on your checking account, that is something out of the norm for you, or something came through from a purchase in Louisiana, and 15 minutes before that you made a purchase in whatever hometown that you're living in. Obviously, we know you're not in Louisiana, to make that purchase, so you're going to be able to get your money back. It is a little hassle, but yeah, the two-way authentication is definitely going to be something on the merchant side that they would have to implement.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys? All right. Well, thank you so much for attending today. I really appreciate your attendance. some great questions. Hopefully the information that you got today was beneficial and useful and something that you can take and move forward with. Again, my name is John Hamby. I'm the Community Relations Coordinator here at Members Credit Union. Reach out to me. I will put my email address here in the comment section if you want to write that down, so that you can email me with any other questions that you may have think of, 10 minutes, 15 minutes from now, or even, a week from now. It'd be fine. And I'll try to get you the answers to that. And then be looking through emails, from us for future webinars that we will handle on different topics as the year goes on. So I hope that you all have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weather, and we'll have another one of these in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.